I keep looking at my face and I'm like, no, this is not good marketing for what we're going to talk about.
Wake up at 5, do your routine, take care of yourself. Never
Wake
happened.
up at 5, go to the living room to try to make sure that my son doesn't kill himself.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for babies. It's just like I barely manage with the cat.
At least babies don't have hairy butts, so that's one big plus. There's no need to cut anything normally. Okay, so welcome to our listeners. Welcome to Asya once again. I'm so excited to welcome you back, to have you on again for the part two that we promised. And today we're starting what I hope will be a regular series on the podcast. We had this conversation, it was one of the very first, I think maybe second or third episode with Ivna, while she was still co-hosting with me. And we talked with her about her decision to start a family while she was still doing her PhD. And moreover, her husband was still doing his PhD. So that was like the double trouble, very complicated. But I am genuinely curious about family planning in academia and around academia because this, as we discussed last time, it is a very special environment. It's a very special kind of workplace with a lot of its own pressures, its own problems. And there are a lot of different considerations that go into it: financial, finding the right moment, being left behind, quote unquote. So I am curious to explore that with you, with other voices, maybe other opinions, other experiences. And we are just going to talk about it in a very, free-flowing conversation. If there is something that is very personal and you don't want to talk about, just stop me, then we can edit it out. And yeah, let's just see where we will end up.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. First of all, I'm so happy I'm again your guest because I enjoyed it so much, our first episode. And of course, as you said, we promised that we're gonna explore these topics because, I mean, as you know, I would also kind of write to you every time I would have a tiny mental breakdown about the future and how to plan this. And I mean, also, I'm so thankful that you were so vocal about your experience as a mom and also like how you planned it, because that helped me a lot. I don't know, I cannot thank you enough how much it just like affected also in a way a little bit of my decision. Because I mean, when you're out there and I also come from a very kind of conservative culture where it's just the whole pressure on women that the clock is ticking, and it's very common in Armenia to get married, I don't know, 20s, and it was always super normalized. And also, I'm super thankful to my sister because she got married around 30. So that was perfect for me. She kind of paved the way. But yeah, so just the fact that you give kind of a platform for people to talk about their experiences, that's so important because either you get kind of extremities when you're like, sorry, extremes when you're like thinking about family planning, because either you get this perspective of like super sugar coated from your mom's side that it's the best thing in the world and
Don't
like
remember anything anymore.
exactly, you will not remember anything and it's going to be amazing. I mean, and I believe she's right and she comes from a good place for sure, but a lot of struggle, and you also hear a lot of struggles, and then you're trying to find like kind of a truth in the middle when you're starting or thinking to start a family, which is I am right now in the same situation. But I think like to talk about it openly and like kind of have these conversations are so important, especially for women in academia, because it's just absolute mess usually. Because if it's, first of all, you have cultural pressure, if not in some sort of way, because every time we go to Armenia, we create a drinking game with my husband where every time people ask, when are you getting a baby? We just get a shot. Well, not anymore because again, we're planning, so no more shots, unfortunately. But yeah, so this was you still feel that pressure, but at the same time, there is a massive pressure in academia to go for maternity leave to, and this it brings like a cascade of like issues with it. So I mean, frankly, I never was pregnant, so I cannot really tell it for sure. But with all the quite like all the experiences I've been hearing, it's always this fear that you are missing out. You are putting your career on pause, especially in science where everything works very, fast paced and you have to do your experiments, you have to pull all-nighters. I mean, that's very hard. And it's like an environment that definitely doesn't support pregnancy, I would say. I mean, I can tell from what I've heard around me is that we also do this kind of equality type of workshops. So like equal opportunities workshops is when, and the number one question is always there that how PIs feel when the postdoc, for example, or a PhD is like about to be a mom or has a baby, because this is such a, I mean, definitely not in the areas that I've been, but it's such a deal breaker for a lot of people because they believe
Mhm.
that, okay, if you have a baby, then you're not 100% present. You need to leave every time earlier, which I don't particularly agree with because I've seen a lot of people around me that have multiple babies, but they're great scientists and they're managing. So it's so many things to balance, like all these pressures of like, oh, the moment you have the baby, like you're just like out, like you have this mom brains and that's it. You're not never gonna recover from it, which maybe has some points of truth, but like completely kind of putting this pressure on women, it's just insane to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I can talk about it like hours, but stop whenever you feel comfortable. But yeah, I mean, just to go back to your initial question, because I'm just going around it. So, how we decided, I think it was very rational decision for sure. Definitely not an emotional one because again, balancing so many pressures takes a toll on you, absolutely. And at some point, and it's not in a negative way, but we were like, okay, we have to get there financially, which we were not near at all because I was a PhD student. My husband was just starting to work. So yeah, it was absolutely not there yet. Plus, we moved to a new city, so this also brings a lot of kind of challenges. But at the same time, we were also thinking, like, come on, we still are young, so we can definitely, enjoy our time together and then really rationally think about planning the baby because now I also I'm finishing my last year contract and I'm like objectively thinking of my alternative options and there are so many things going on that yeah, it's hard to balance. It's really, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So all these suggestions of yours really help me a lot. Um, but it definitely was a rational decision because otherwise not possible, at least not possible for us.
Mhm.
Because sometimes I see people just having like 5 kids, like out of the blue, and I'm like, wow, kudos to you.
Mhm.
Mm, But, and I think it was partially very rational just because of all the struggles we've seen people face, and especially in academia, where
Mhm.
there's no better time to have a baby in academia. I really believe that. And there's no, great timing for that. When we talk with my husband about this, we were like, there's no good time to have a baby,
Yeah.
but then you have to just decide, right? Yeah.
But honestly, from my perspective, there is no good time anywhere. Like whether you are in academia or not, in academia there is a whole other level of pressure and the timing and the train is just going to escape from the station and you are not on it and you are going to be left behind. So it's a whole other ballpark. But yeah, there's no good time anywhere. You
Yeah.
can always get your health a little bit better, get your financial situation a little bit better, prepare mentally, prepare in other ways, and then you can be preparing forever.
Yeah. But
So, yeah, but it's good also that you have that, self-awareness and those discussions early and that you can kind of maybe put a deadline a little bit on it. Like, okay, we're going to prepare until that point, but then we're going to kind of let it go and surrender to the process maybe.
yeah.
But definitely. Oh my God, so much to comment on from what you said so far. All
I have
the
my toddler coming here.
already.
You want to say hi to Xenia? See, I told you. You think it's Arthur, but I have Patrick. And now the cats. And the kids. Today
Okay, a
is
little
my
intermission.
house. Today, I tell you, there was a good point. I was talking to you from the lab.
Yeah.
In the lab, you have your peace of mind.
No, but I'm glad to see that on Saturday morning you're not in the lab, that
Yes,
Saturday mornings are sacred. That's good.
exactly. You remember I told you
Yeah.
the non
Non-negotiable. Yeah, 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 that you are together at home in the morning. Yeah.
yes.
No, that's absolutely that's also good for the future, for future planning, that you kind of
Yeah,
make your weekends at least and make some time
as
for
much.
yourself sacred and
Yeah.
non-negotiable. Yeah. So I really want these conversations to be normalized. I want this topic to not be taboo, and I want the the voices to be heard. And yeah, they're becoming, I think, more and more, like, people are becoming more and more vocal about it,
Yeah.
and maybe more and more demanding of opportunities, and not seeing women any differently or thinking of them any differently as scientists, as potential hires,
Yeah.
if they are in childbearing years.
Yeah.
Because I've also seen that. I've heard stories, and I'm glad to see that this is becoming more open, but I feel like we could do more collectively. And
Oh,
I also remember that when I started my PhD, I was like, no freaking way. Like, I'm not even going to think about having a family, because it's such a high pressure environment. It's such a high pressure time. It's condensed, or I used to think that it was condensed, but now looking back at it, I see that, I started, let's say, 6.5 years ago, left after 1 year, but there are still people from my cohort that are not finished.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it can last. And here in Austria, it's not very limited, I guess. If
Yeah.
your PI has money, you can go on forever. So again, coming back to our point about that you can be postponing forever, maybe at some point you're like, okay, the clock is ticking and
Yeah.
I'm still not done and my PI is still not letting me finish. Then what do I do?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
all these considerations, all these conversations need to happen. And I am glad also you brought up the PIs and what the PIs think, because also heard stories there of people screaming at their PhD students and their postdocs, like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Why now? This is so irresponsible. And this is horrible, because in the
Yeah.
end, like, nobody can be in your
Yeah, position.
private life, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and
And
nobody should have any say but you and your husband, or you and your partner. So
exactly. I mean, or like a PhD should be your only baby. Like you have to get married to your PhD thesis. I mean, these comments have been all the time around. I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, from my perspective, I completely agree with you. Maybe there was never like such pressure directly, but indirectly, you never think about having a family once you're having PhD. That's impossible. Like really, it's just like so expected from you that you have to be all the time in the in the lab, and you have to dedicate most of your attention to
Mhm.
your project. So I mean, let alone having a private life, I think it's already a quite wow effect. But having babies while you're at PhD, I think that that's almost impossible. Like also the examples I've seen so far, also of my colleagues during my PhD, after my PhD now, um, it's pretty different. Nobody actually became a mom during PhD. Almost, oh, we had some exceptions. Yeah, that's true. Which is honestly, in the end, I think it was amazing because also our PIs were actually quite supportive about the whole family thing, but it's not everywhere. It's not so common. Absolutely not common. Especially, I mean, I'm so sorry to put our kind of conversation to that direction, but sometimes where your PI is a man, it's also quite hard. Like because when you have a woman PI, then I think she understands all the crazy things that you go through, like all the 5 a.m. wake up in the morning or not sleeping, like because you just kind of have that sort of empathy directly. I had a conversation, not with the PI, but somebody that is aspiring to be a PI, right? Like, and then I remember we were talking about like that there's so much problem in terms of like childcare, so it's really hard to leave your child and come to do your experiment. And then the answer was just like, yeah, well, then just hire a nanny. What's the problem? And then
With academic salary.
where should I
Yay!
start? Exactly. And I was like, where should I start? And then you realize that it doesn't come from a bad place, but
Yeah.
it's just really like this complete detachment from reality,
Yeah.
like complete misunderstanding how things work. And
Hmm.
then you're like, wow, I guess just because nobody really told him about the whole thing that you go through as a mom or like as a new parent. And it's
Yeah.
not just that easy. Like you just cannot just hire a complete random stranger and give your 3 months old baby to them and be like, okay, I went to my time point experiment and my incubation is waiting for me. I mean, of course not. But I realized that there's so much this association from reality, especially
Yeah.
from the direction of men, because they just don't go through it. And then most of the time the caregivers are women. And then you hear all these stories. I mean, even the we had this beautiful story actually in Portugal. I mean, since both of us were in the same institute, so our director back in the day, right, Jonathan, so he was very also very successful, and his wife is, in my humble opinion, she's way more successful. But yeah, anyway, so she's like the head of, she was head of EMBO, I think now she's head of ERC, blah, blah, blah. And then there was this question where we had kind of conversations with both of them, but separately. And then we asked, there was the same question like, what would you suggest to young scientists? And the answer shocked me. And they're married. And then the answer was like, from Leptin's side, she was like, Maria's, and she was like, okay, no matter what, you always have to prioritize your family. Family is very important. Of course,
Mhm.
will come in and like that's very just a grounded answer. I remember Jonathan answered like, don't let family put you down. You have to move on with your life. Career choices are the most important. I mean, it's just that one example, but it's just so obvious. And in the end of the day, in my humble opinion, she's way more successful than he is. But you see this complete detachment from reality and how the approaches are so much different. And I hope it is changing with time, but you see where your environment is. And both of them are great scientists. Both of them had labs, both of them have great publications. But then you have this complete difference on approach about life and family. And then you're like, wow, okay, so where my freedom is, where I can also say it, right? Like that, just don't care about the whole family thing. It's
Yeah.
like, don't let it put, because it sounded like that's like this obstacle that you have to overcome, and don't let your family to put you down type of thing. And you're like, wow, okay, like we have to deal with so many layers here as
But
women.
that's an amazing example because, like, as you say, she's somewhat, conventionally, let's say, more successful, and she has kids, right? They have kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So
think
she was a mom, and that didn't prevent her from achieving all these things. And most likely also, given their generation, like they're older.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it was probably also at the time where men didn't really have any parental leave and didn't go on any leave at all, and probably everything was on a woman, and she still managed to get all this amazing accomplishments and build this amazing career. So it is possible, I guess, not without its sacrifices, not without its
Yeah.
obstacles, maybe not for everybody, but also maybe not everybody wants it
Yeah.
because you never know how having a baby will change you. Maybe it will kind of soften everything and you will be like, you know what, screw career.
Yeah.
I am happy with
Priorities
with
change.
that, with family. And yeah, it's going to be very different, but it is a great example of what is possible, and that becoming a mom doesn't have to limit you, limit your ambition, limit your dreams,
Yeah.
and can actually give you extra superpowers. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, studies have shown actually moms, they are so much better at multitasking. Like everybody thinks that. I mean, there were already like I think cognition studies, so many that actually women are becoming even more, advanced just because our biology is changing and we have to be like on top of everything. And that actually helps in terms of career. I mean, just to, I don't know, not to get into more like political point of view, but for example, a lot of countries where it is so supported, it's completely different view. So, for example, now we have some colleagues that came from Israel and they're PhD students, either PhD or postdoc, they both have kids. So actually, for me, it was like, holy shit, like very shocking because I was like, oh my God, so like how that's possible. But then you realize that in a certain way, maybe in a way of like government as well, right? It's so appreciated to like give the freedom to have babies, but at the same time make sure that you have the opportunity to come back to work, come back to science, come back to academia and continue being a successful, scientist as a woman. And we had these cases. I think we had a candidate for postdoc, if I'm not mistaken, that she had like 5 kids. And I was like, wow. And she was having the kids while doing her PhD.
Oh
And
my,
she was still very successful. And for me, it was mind blowing. I was like, wow, that's it
it
really
is.
possible. And this is, I think, a lot also talks about the systemic support that you have in terms of like government appreciation of like having babies in general. And I think in Israel this is very like a top priority.
Hmm.
And you realize that as a scientist, you're still great because, sometimes when you hear too much that, oh, you're gonna miss out, you're not gonna be the same again, it gets to you, it gets under your skin, and then you start believing in it yourself as
Hmm.
well. That, oh, no, 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 if I have a baby, then that's it. Like I cannot be able to be as sharp as I was before, as
Hmm.
like but actually, all these examples I have in front of me shows me otherwise. And this is, I guess, that's another thing that coming back to your first question, that actually convinced me that this is possible is just the examples you have in front of you that are showing you like, wow, actually you can do so much more. And it's just like this kind of voices all the time. You just have to like, tone it down and be like, no, but look at others. And
Hmm.
they're managing, they're great scientists and they have babies, they leave early, they come early, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, you kind of grew up in the scientific environment thinking that this is not. But also, I mean, just thinking about just to follow the thought of the kind of government support. I mean, I'm really happy, for example, there is the paternity leave and like maternity leave, and that's actually very supported. It really supports the whole
Hmm.
year of taking care of the baby. But recently I was thinking about something. So maybe not in our case with me and my husband, but in a lot of cases. So when you go to maternity or paternity leave, you get, I think, 65-70% of your previous salary, like while you're in a maternity leave, something like this. So you get like certain amount of money just to maintain your, life while you're caregiver. And if you think about it, in most of the cases, even in Europe, women are still being paid less than men. So actually, if men take paternity leave, they're going to still have like more money supported, right?
Hmm.
So it's such a mess because in the end of the day, it kind of still you cannot take both because you're actually losing money in that case, right? Because you're not managing. And then you really have to find the best way how you balance like the whole financial burden on
Yeah.
your family and at the same time systematically having problems just because by default you're earning less as a woman. So you're as a caregiver and you cannot really fully take advantage of it. And then as a couple, you're still not managing your financial burden as well. So in the end of the day, men will just go to work because otherwise it's too much money lost if both of them are in the maternity/paternity leave. So men will still manage to catch up with their career and not have any gaps and not have any fear that they're missing out on something. And we, on the other hand, have to like stay and, give care, but at the same time, miss out on our own careers because men's salary is more. So if they actually go to paternity leave, they are going to lose a lot, right? You see what I mean? So it's, I don't know, like I was just thinking maybe, okay, in our case, particularly, it's not the situation, but even in a systematic point of view, you have this. sacrifices that you have to make just because there is no support in that way, right? And plus, imagine your family is not around, which is most of the cases with scientists because all of us are
And
international.
abroad, yeah,
So there's so much things to consider.
definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just you just have to really bear in mind that you have to hear all the possible stories that are out there because otherwise it's just becoming really tough because in systemic point of view and like in environment you just keep hearing like no, if you're a scientist that's like think about it later, think about it when you're a PI, think about it, and then you have like I don't know, okay, you get to 40 plus and that's when first time you think about having a baby, and that's sad because I feel like
Yeah.
you're also not managing, like your health is also not the same. It's the same, not the same if you're 25 or 30 when you're
Hmm.
all-nighters, and then you're delaying this such a big decision just because, there's never a good time to have it.
There is never a good time, and I think delaying it for the outside voices, and like it's okay if this is what you definitely want, and if this is, you're sure that this is your journey, you want to put in the work now, and then you want to step back and just be a parent.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if you're delaying and postponing it just because of the all the outside influences that are attacking you left, right, and center, and saying, no, you have to wait until things calm down. You have to wait until you submit the PhD or the thesis or submit that paper or submit that grant, and then you get there, and then that's sad because then you arrive to that point and you think you will be full of resentment. And as you said, the health might be not there because also it is a stressful environment. So the stress kind of tends to accumulate and you might need to spend more time trying maybe or more time preparing your body for pregnancy because you are just so under this tremendous stress and tremendous pressure. Yeah, the energy is no longer the same. But even, I had my son when I was 30, and I was thinking, 30, I'm still super young, it's still so good. I mean, maybe at 25 would have been so much better because he just didn't sleep. And at 30, it's no longer as easy to pull an all-nighter as it was at 25. Even those 5 years made a difference. And yeah, the energy is level is going to be different. It might be, slightly lower in most
Yeah,
cases,
of
I'd say.
course.
So yeah, it's a lot of things to consider. It's the financial aspect is really difficult. Obviously, yeah, you want to, or you have to, maybe if you're a breastfeeding mom, you have to go on maternity leave to be with your baby for a while, but then also you are not paying any retirement contributions maybe, so your retirement is not as up to date as it could have been. Your pension is going to be, you know
Yeah.
not
Yeah, yeah,
changing, or
there's
right as your husband's will be. So it's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to consider, and um, at the same time, if we spend all this time considering it,
yeah, I
we're
agree.
never going to decide. And if we want to be moms, there has to be a point where you're just gonna go and like, I'm gonna do it.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think it's just that it's important to be prepared. I always think that that's the best thing you can do is just to be prepared, but completely put it on the side just because, oh, maybe later, you
Mhm.
realize that doesn't work like this. And then there's a really nice Russian saying that I like that you solve the problems by the moment of their arrival, like.
Mhm.
And I think that's about life. I mean,
Yeah.
yesterday was so funny. We were with friends, three girls, and we were like, okay, let's have our Christmas dinner together because we have to, like have some our time, etc. And we decided to kind of have like a rough ideas about our resolutions for next year. So we were sharing what we can do a bit better, blah blah blah. And then of course we were sharing about the resolutions. And then I was like, okay, so I want to finish the startup situation and then do the consulting a bit more, finish my experiment, have a baby, da, 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 da. And then I'm just like, writing this thing. And a friend of mine was like, first of all,
Still.
chill. I was like, I know you want all of this, but it's okay that you can take a break the moment you have a baby. And if that's your resolution for next year, there will be times where you have to take a break. And it's okay that you should look your resolutions and not feel bad that, oh my God, I didn't manage the other 3 points that I was actually also a bit like a lot passionate about. And that was so important for me to hear. And a friend of mine, she also doesn't have babies, but I feel like we are just this whole thing that everybody expects something from you, and that this whole thing that you have to manage everything, you have to be the super mom, and you have to be like, and I was like, no, you can be a messy mom. You can be, you can take your time.
Hmm.
Maybe you'll go for more than a year on maternity leave, and it's okay. But I feel like this again, like going back to this whole pressure stuff, like trying to control everything, trying to make sure like, oh, they have to go as minimum as possible because I will have this project, I have this experiment I have to do. And then you're like, no, this is a moment where I think the moment will come and I mean, I'm projecting about it, but like there will be moments where your priorities will change and that's okay.
Hmm.
And I think that's so important to tell future young moms out there that it's okay to control everything, that it's okay, you're trying to be prepared as much as possible, but it will be a moment where it just gonna go to shit and it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like the hardest point to just let go of the control that this is gonna happen. Even when I'm thinking about like, I don't know, like I love tidiness in the house and I love about it. And then you see like in the social media, everybody like all these young moms, they have like the perfect house, they have this beautiful beige environment, blah blah blah. And then you're like, I have to do this because that's like how it's supposed to be. But then I started thinking like, no, is this a real reality?
Do
No.
I need to show you my living room right now?
So I believe, and that's exactly coming back to that point. We just have to be real
Yeah.
about everything. We have to be we have to be prepared, we have to be real about things. And I feel like when I remember, I don't know if you remember that message I wrote to you that I'm so appreciating that you share the real life.
Hmm.
Because when you talk about that, when I talk about maternity, like, being a mom with my mom, it's always like, you will manage everything. And she had twins. And I don't know how she managed because
Hmm.
it's still like with this covered with this whole notion of like, you will manage everything. It's gonna be great. But like, I don't know. Is it? I think she had, I don't know, she was in the verge of mental breakdown, most probably when she was doing it, but it was not allowed to talk about this. It was not to show this. And once you feel like all these real conversations coming up, the reality, it just helps so much more, really. And people have to understand that even in academia, when women are trying to kind of balance so many things, just be real about it.
Yeah.
That you will miss conferences. I don't know, okay, you will miss experiments, but it's okay. The
Hmm.
world is not going to break down, and you're still very valuable scientist. And I miss these type of conversations in my surrounding as well. That, okay, if you didn't manage to do that one time point, but because you had to go to attend to your baby, it's okay. You should not feel guilty about it. And I feel like once we hear these conversations, once we hear the reality, that support, I think the decision of becoming a mom will be so much easier on us. And this is, I guess, what was missing. I mean, I feel like I decided to become a mom, um, despite not having all of that. But I really wish that for new, new generation coming in and who will decide objectively decide to have a baby and like create a family, they would have this type of support already there. And they were like, oh, there is a podcast about it, and actually they talk about it, and that's, oh my God, that's so cool. Because I don't know, I personally don't find this. I don't see it.
I don't think also, yeah, maybe I since it wasn't really on my radar, I didn't look for these resources, but I was so much in this headspace of like, no, 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 as you said, like there is no time. You have to finish, you have to like do the next step, the next step, the next step, and then maybe postpone it until you are settled. But you know what? In academia, there's like short-term contracts. PhD is a short term, postdoc is a short term, then maybe you're becoming a PI, but you still also have short term until you are
Yeah,
like
yeah, I'm
tenure
sure you
track end, right?
are. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so you might be needing to move, and there is all this consideration, move countries, again, move institutes, find another job, and there's all these things that yeah, you are never really settled if you want to stay in academia. So never like 100% or anywhere for that matter, you can be fired from one day to the next. Maybe
Yeah,
in some places it's more difficult than others, but still. And yeah, I also for moms, for women, it's like the equality was that we are now working, we can earn our own money, but also I feel like we swung to the other side of the spectrum where we are expected to work, but also expected to be moms, but also expected to carry. And a lot of this is also like our internal things that we put on ourselves. We are expected to manage the household and still carry all the household work and still do like everything to 100%. But there's like the math ain't mathing. This is like how can we put 100% of everything into everything?
yeah,
So at some point, yes, some things will have to give, and it is, as you said, it is okay. It is really difficult to surrender. It is really difficult to let go of control if you have that in you, if you have that control freak streak.
yeah.
But also, you can never know how having a child is going to change you, how is it going to change your attitudes, your ambitions, your thinking about your work, your goals, your dreams. And sometimes it might, for a lot of people, it might soften them and really make them like, yeah, okay, that's it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, actually, just on that point, my previous supervisor, so while I was doing PhD, by the end of my PhD, she got into maternity leave, so she was expecting a baby. And honestly, and I think I told this to her as well at some point. After she was back from maternity leave, our relationships got so much better with her. And I
Mm,
think that's actually, and I think once she also told me, she was like, Asya, before I had no problem hiring people with kids like that. She never had that issue. But she was like, but yeah, deep inside, I couldn't understand that, oh, why you couldn't do that one more thing before going home, or like very small things, not like in a blaming way, but just like thinking about it.
yeah.
And then she told me, like, the moment I had the baby, wow, I just like, I got my eyes open that now I realize that people, moms, go through so much things while being in academia. So also like her understanding of other women completely changed as well. So you feel much more empathetic kind of relationship growing between you and your supervisor once like the whole maternity part happened, which is amazing because I think like at this point, like I don't know, it's a brain chemistry, what is it? But you changed a lot in a direction of like understanding all the situations, like really being even more supportive if she was before. But I think like that helped by the end of my PhD to kind of survive the end. Because that also, I don't know, like I was really grateful that she got pregnant, really. Because I think by the end of my PhD, when everything was just getting too hard, that kind of really helped. So I was like, wow, that's like magic.
Mm.
Being a mom actually makes you so much more different, but in the best ways.
Yeah.
So actually, it gives you so much more perspective. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know, as a scientist, you also, look up these things and then you realize that you're so much more empathetic, you are way more multitasking, you're understanding things much faster. And of course there will be points where you're super tired and you cannot
Hmm.
do anything. But I really want people to know that it actually it's improvement rather than
Mhm.
rather than just a setback.
Yeah.
That's so important because during my PhD, I was always thinking it's a setback and it's
Hmm.
not going to give me any value. It's not an improvement, and I'm not planning anything like that. But now thinking further, I'm like, wow, that's so much important. Like it's like a freaking miracle. Even as a scientist, you treat it as a miracle,
Yeah.
you know? And it's great and it's amazing. And you should do it. And you should not freak out about it.
You
That, oh
should do
my God.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go do
Honestly.
it now.
Exactly. I mean, like, of course, as a human, let's put it this way, I think I still have them. I have a lot of fears
Mm,
because, like, all this responsibility of for another human being, and responsibility of bringing that person to life, to this world. And then you think about economy, ecology, everything. Like, it's amazing. Like, your brain just thinks about thousand things that tiny human being is going to grow up into, right?
yeah.
And then you think about all your childhood traumas, like you're so afraid that you're going to, that's another Pandora box you don't want to open. But then you also think like, oh my God, what if I do something? And then it's another trauma for my kid.
Mhm.
There's so much to think about.
I feel you very much, and I feel like this is
Surrounding you.
our generation, like our millennial, it's millennial things really, because and also like we have a similar cultural background, so I think I can also relate, relate to that.
I tell you, too overwhelming.
I'm passionate about it, so it's just my speech is escaping from me.
Exactly.
No, so definitely I feel also that part as well where I had a happy childhood. I know that my parents did everything they could with the resources and the knowledge that they had, but there was still some shit that
Pretty big
I have to
one.
still work through. And it's a work in progress, and I'm so scared of giving this to my son that I'm kind of swinging also to the other end, to the other extreme, and maybe being a little bit too free and like hippy dippy mom that is like, yeah, you can do whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes, of course,
yeah.
not to the extreme, but um, yeah, it's difficult because also we put all that pressure on ourselves that we have to solve all our own traumas and fix everything within us and then not give any traumas to our kids, which is impossible. There
Yeah.
is still going to be something that they're going to talk to their therapists about.
Yeah, of course. At this
Oh,
point,
my mom was so kind. That was too much.
I was allowed everything. That broke me
Yeah.
as a person.
God damn it, how could she do this to me?
Exactly. No, honestly.
Yeah, so there is definitely all of that and all of those considerations, but also coming back to the previous point of the like improvement, how motherhood changes you for the better or parenthood changes you for the better for that matter. I also can attest to that. Like I'm not in academia, but I'm self-employed, so there is a lot of kind of parallels where you have to be like very self-driven, self-motivated, and if you don't do the work, nobody does the work, and you cannot kind of just coast by with somebody else doing most of the work. So I feel like motherhood, first of all, gave me a lot of like time back because I used to spend much more time procrastinating because I would be anxious or because my perfectionism would take over, because my imposter syndrome would start talking and be like, why, you cannot talk about this. And now I'm like, no, that those voices don't have any space. I don't have time for this. I have to just do it. So there is a lot more of that, of like doing and trying and figuring things out as I go, and again solving the problems as they come, um, instead of yeah worrying about it and kind of like I'm going to think and I'm going to think again and I'm going to prepare for months and months and like
The
I'm
to-do
just going to do it.
list, to-do list.
So it is a superpower for sure, and also it gives you a completely different motivation because I mean, for example, like I can see you that you are going to continue doing all these things. You're going to continue being so multi-passionate and multi-hyphenate, a startup and this and that, because once you have a child, you will be like, okay, I have this life that I'm responsible for. And apart from just covering, like the basic needs, so needing money, I also need to show them that, all of this is possible
Yeah.
and you can do it and you can be who you want to be and you can create your, world, your environment, how you imagine it. And like this is it for me. I know after having my son, I know that I want to make, my work because I want to show him that if you are in a bad environment, you can leave and you can create your environment that is nurturing for you in terms of employment, in terms of work, in terms of like you can create a work that is fulfilling for you. You don't have to like suffer in a job just because you have to stay in a job once you are in it,
Yeah.
as maybe our parents would say, or like our parents' generation. So there is a completely different level of motivation because now you want to be an example. You
Yeah.
want to be a role model for also for that human being. But yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes I look at him and I'm like, who gave me permission to take care? Like how, like where are the adults?
Oh, where are they to like decide for me? Because
Who left me with this baby?
no, I know. I mean, it's really similar to when my sister had her first child. It was also like for me, it was so hard to comprehend it that I was like, did you take the neighbor's baby? Like, what is this? Like it was very weird to me. And but again, going back to all these examples, actually you see that in my case with my sister, she has three kids and she's managing everything. She's managing to travel, she's managing to manage all her businesses, all her ladies clubs and all of these things. And you realize, like, wow, okay, what I was worried about, like, you
Mhm.
can do it. And it's just a matter of, I mean, no offense to our mom's generations, but I feel like we grew up too much with this notion that I sacrificed my life to raise you. That
Mhm.
one sentence has been always with me all
The
my
bane of
life.
your existence, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I guess at some point it also becomes a little bit of a leverage because you just want to things to go your way, so you just use
Mhm.
it all the time. But it happened to in my family. I mean, I will be very honest about this. So my mom stopped working once she had my sister and my brother. They were twins, and then at some point, 7 years later, they had me. Again, actually, I have to tell you this story. You know how they planned to have me? Did I tell you this story?
No.
Okay, that's a very great story to tell so people don't feel bad to have babies because there's worse reasons. So, Soviet Union, 90s, and then my mom and dad, they were scientists, by the way. They were working in the scientific institute, and then the government, Soviet Union, would give them like free apartments as a scientific, stuff. And then like there was this office where they told them like, okay, so since you have two kids, and it's crazy because they have twins, one boy, one girl, perfect match. Like, why would on earth you have third one, right? And then they're like, but if you have the third kid, we will give you three-room apartment instead of two-room apartment. So if you manage
And
by
they got to work.
so you're looking at the three-room apartment reason right here. And that's how they had me because third kid, three-room apartment, bigger space.
Yeah.
I loved our apartment, love it. Grew up there. I honestly enjoyed it a lot. But sometimes the reasons can be also insane, and this was one of the
Yeah.
cases. And they had me, and my mom also stayed at home to raise me, which I am endlessly grateful. But then you end up in the environment where it's always like you keep hearing that women gave up their careers to raise you. And it's
Mhm.
not only in Armenia. I think here I also heard a lot of stories about it, that this happens also here back in that time. So just because that was the only notion that you saw all your life, that's like you have to. That's my. I don't know if you can hear it. Okay, it's like the toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with this notion that, if you are a mom, then you have to sacrifice everything, raise the babies because that's like your, life goal. But then when my sister had her babies, and then I started seeing like all this example of you actually can do it, that actually one of the points where it like really started pushing me that no, I actually can do it. And even if I'm in academia, then I just have to find the best way how to deal with this
Yeah.
and find the best supportive environment for that. And this is also something that I realize a lot of women do when they are going for postdoc, for example. They actually look for PI or an environment that, you know, basically a lab where there are people who have babies, let's put it this way,
Yeah.
because that's a red flag. If you go to a lab where everybody is, God forbid, single, even not even like having families, but not even having babies, I think it's like it can be a little bit of a red flag because then you feel like, okay, there's such a big notion that you cannot do this.
There's some selection process going on, right? So that
Right. Yes, and I
maybe people are a bit like, no, I'm not going to go here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this definitely happens. I know stories, at least in Armenia, I know stories where a lot of women hide the fact that they just got married when
Mhm.
they are applying for a job because there is a big, big, big selection of that.
Mhm.
She just got married. There is a big chance she's going to have a baby soon. So we actually would not hire her because of this. And I mean, I've also heard a lot of horror stories in academia about this, that this actually happens.
Yeah.
Luckily, in my lab, we have a lot of people that have families and babies.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it works out. We have an amazing TA that she has 3 kids, and throughout 3 maternity leaves, she was in the lab in and out, and
Mhm.
it still worked very well.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, but again, this is rather an exception than, like kind of a normality,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I
But
think, when you are in this situation, like you're a parent, and there are moments when you are feeling like, I don't know how I'm going to get up tomorrow and do it all over again. And then you just get up and then you do it. And in the same way, in a like bigger perspective, like you are in this situation and you are going to find a way.
yeah,
You're going to figure out how, like, build your support, find people, improve your communication maybe with your partner, with your husband, so that you guys can make it work. So you're just going to figure it out. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be preparing and you shouldn't be having the conversations early, but eventually I do think that, yeah, you are going to find ways to make everything work. As you said, like 3 kids, and your colleague found a way to be in the lab in and out. That's
yeah,
very um,
yeah,
impressive. The environment is not very conducive, right? But what can we do on like an individual level or maybe organizational level? What do you think we can do to make academia stop dictating this and kind of make it start designing an environment, start designing also lives for ourselves that we want to have within academic context, within academia?
yeah. I mean, how I would see the perfect environment where it will, allow me to think of having babies. Like if I'm thinking from this perspective, super important to be vocal about this because simply people either don't know and they're not coming from a bad place. But really, I was shocked of the comments sometimes I would hear. We had this situation where we had like this equal opportunities workshop where we had a guy postdoc from China who would just was super annoyed that we're spending time on this.
Mhm.
And then it was like, why we even do this? Like, I don't understand what's the point. And and then you realize like you cannot really blame them because it's just like they never really went through stuff like this and they
Yeah.
don't know. And I feel like it's super important to be vocal about this, vocal about your experiences, how tough it can get on you, but also like also show that no matter what, it's possible. I think that's so important. And these type of stories, and again, the fact that we're doing this podcast today and you're doing your podcast, that actually helps a lot. I mean, you are looking at the person that your podcasts help a lot. I mean, no praising intended. It's really like this.
No, please praise me.
Yeah, you changed my life. And I'm not joking because I really feel the moment I saw your example of not, I mean, not only like the fact that you left because it was bad, you had all the guts to do that and you show that it's possible. That was actually gave me so much clarity in mind because when I was going through my PhD, I was like, there's no way I can do that. That's nobody does it, you know? And then you saw that there are people who do it, and it's the greatest decision of them all. And then you're like, okay, I have a backup plan. In a worst
Mm-hmm.
case, fuck this. I'm just gonna leave, you know? And that took so much pressure off of me. And I think that was because I also saw your example. And that's so important. And you were always vocal about this, and that's super, super. I mean, recently I was on your Instagram where I saw like the whole journey you were telling about the Christmas time when you,
Mm-hmm.
the year when you decided to quit, and all these health issues that you were facing. And then I was like, oh my God, I had similar. Like I had moments where I couldn't eat anything, and I had like I had this stress hives that was just like all over my body because I was just too stressed and I was having like allergic reaction to stress. And like you think that okay, but that's nobody talks about it, and that's important. And that first thing about academia, the second thing that you can be self-employed, you are starting your own business, you're starting all this thing, but at the same time you have the time for creating your family. And that also was such a great example for me. I was like, you know what? Yeah, there is no perfect timing whatsoever. And
Mm-hmm.
you can do it, and you can be a great mom. You can still have an amazing business, have your great podcast that helps people, and then still, again, not praising, giving you the facts.
But thank you.
Yeah, really. And I think these type of initiatives are so, so important.
Mm.
And because we can have an equal opportunities workshop where people share their experiences, but it maybe will give some perspective, but then 1 hour later, people will be like, okay, it's time to go, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to have a lasting effect, unfortunately.
You
So
need to hear it all the time.
yeah, yeah, really, because
Yeah.
the whole thing of hearing all the time is mostly like you have to work hard, you have to stay, you cannot take a break. That's not possible. The moment you take a break, your career is over. All these years that you invested is going to be over. No, there will be always a great scientific hypothesis to explore. It's fine if
Yeah.
this one didn't work out or you didn't have time for this one, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So always be vocal about it, be true. I think that's like very helpful. Even in the environment of academia, people just have to talk about how it is to balance it. And
Mm-hmm.
we need a lot of success stories to see that it's possible, but also the reality behind it. Not because like I have the CEO mindset, I wake up at 5, I do half an hour meditation. No, just be real. Yes, you
Yeah.
wake up because you didn't sleep properly because your baby was awake the whole night. And I love your stories about this because that's so true.
Yeah.
That, yeah, and I finally was productive and then my baby got sick. So I just have to
Mm.
figure out how to deal with this. And these are the real life stories, and these things happen. And these should be also possible to hear when you're in academia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't do this one time point because my baby was sick and I had to go to pick him or her up. Or I don't know, the kindergarten got closed today because there are not enough staff. And by the way, this is a huge problem in Germany.
Oh, here as well. Yeah. All the time.
Yeah,
Here.
it's just like, oh, and then the whole kindergarten is closed
Yeah.
because all the caretakers are sick. And then you
Mhm.
have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But you have to talk about this. It's so important. It was very important for me until I got all this, information kind of getting into my brain. I also thought it's impossible.
Hmm.
Fortunately, like there are way more voices telling you that it's impossible and you have to focus on your career and you cannot have it both. Or you just find finally like this tiny haven of like a piece of information that actually gives you the reality. And yeah, even your family cannot give you that clarity. Even your,
Yeah.
it's just not possible because they're
Yeah.
also very biased. They want grandchildren, so it's impossible to trust them.
Definitely. Also, they just don't remember. Like, according to my parents, I was the best sleeper. I just taught everything to myself, by myself, like to go to potty, to do everything. They didn't have to put any effort. And now, like, why is this so hard for you? Well, maybe because I have a child. I don't have an imaginary child. I have an
Yeah.
actual child.
experience all of this thing with my child. Exactly.
Yeah. But it's I feel like what you said about vulnerability and being like honest and being truthful about your experience, it's also like it's hard. I think we have the cultural aspect that we talked about, that for us vulnerability is not easy. But also in academia in general, like it's another layer. It is not easy. Like you now start talking about like this failure CVs where people are open about how much they didn't get, how much positions, or the positions, the grants, the whatever that they didn't get in order to build the successful careers that they have. And they're much more open about it now. But also, like, this wasn't the case even a few years back. Everybody was kind of like, no, I got this, but like nobody talks about what they didn't achieve or what they, the journals that they submitted to and got rejected from or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of academia conditions us to only show the good side, to only show the experiments that worked, and all the repeats that didn't work, we are throwing them
Yeah,
away.
exactly. All the five
And
ones that didn't work is
yeah. And it's the same way with parenthood. You kind of want the glossy picture of, yeah, clean house, everybody is managing everything. Nobody wants to see like the hair falling out or the bags under my eyes. But I'm gonna be honest about it.
yes, yeah. And I think that you help people more than actually like just, masking it as if you're like this kind of on the verge of like being robotic, like because I don't think that's also human. Like I don't see that happening, that you 100% of time have everything in place and everything is just like there has to be something going on, really, because life is all about these chaotic situations and people just have to be very
Yeah, maybe you have a lot of help, but then also, like if everything is in place, maybe you have a cleaner, maybe you have a nanny, maybe you have a lot of family help, but then also be honest about that, because otherwise people see this kind of things on social media and they're like, oh my God, I am a mess, I'm a failure.
yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we all feel like that from time to time and it's fine, but it's not, yeah, it's not helping anybody to just show the beautiful picture, the like highlight reel of your experience, be it in academia, in motherhood in academia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, I
I
think
agree with you.
it's absolutely important. I just cannot emphasize the importance so much, but even like in your like in the work environment, for example, in academia, I think also it's important that women also are super supportive of each other and like
Mhm.
they're really honest with each other and just because sometimes like you just have this feeling like you're two postdocs and you're like working to get somewhere to publish it, and then it can get competitive. But I think it's like the moment you're overstepping to the point where you're a mom and you're taking care of more than just yourself and your project, I think it's so important, like women also supporting each other in this environment, because once you're kind of a united front, you actually can change a lot in the
Mhm.
environment. Because yeah, sometimes people are just like, no, 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 no. I will just do my project. I don't care about what's going on with others' lives. Like,
Yeah.
and I think there should be like kind of consolidation of this, like consolidation of like women power in a way that we start pushing all these conversations to happen.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's insane that to me that in 21st century you have people who think like it's just as simple as hiring a nanny. Like, what's your problem? Like, okay, you got a baby, now get out and work and do your
Mhm.
project. And then you're like, where we failed? What happened?
I heard this story. I don't remember who. I think maybe it was in the PhD program, like the course that we had at the beginning of the PhD program, where somebody told about a woman who was, I think she was helping with like scientific illustrations or creating nice graphs or whatever for publications for it to be very clear, very beautiful, and how she at some point replied to an email about like, hey, I have this, like, can we have a call and talk about like how we can make it into a whatever, let it be illustration.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I'm in labor, but I will call you tomorrow. And I remember like everybody laughed at this story. And now
That's not
looking back, I'm
funny.
like, this is not funny.
Not at
And
all.
this is not really inspiring.
No.
This is scary.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's maybe a very like US inspired, US induced thinking, because there you don't get a maternity leave and everybody kind of almost brags about how quickly they go back to work.
Yeah.
But it is terrifying for women, mental health, for physical health and recovery,
Oh, I cannot
for
imagine.
everything. And yeah, so it is not funny, and it's really sad if we think this way, that yeah, we have to just kind of bounce back both
Yeah.
physically in terms of
Yeah.
how we look or in terms of our health, but also in terms of work, bounce back to work right away
Yeah.
and not have, like, this is a monumental change in your life. How can you do
Yeah.
that?
Within
And
24 hours, go back to lab. I mean,
yeah, and then I also heard stories from my husband about, again, PIs in Portugal, and I think this is not specific to Portugal, but everywhere, of how they were not, how
yeah.
they were talking to women in their lab and being like, okay, your child is sick, like not a baby, already an older child. Your child is sick, so what? What does it mean? Why do you have to leave work now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, okay, maybe you are not a father, maybe you're not a parent, but you're a human being.
Yeah.
What does not compute in your brain? What is happening?
Yeah, and I think that that's so important that people call off this type of behaviors. I mean, even like that example with the labor situation, like that's not funny, not at all. And I think women, I mean, sometimes I feel like women trying so hard to prove that they're superpower that also backfires at some point, like, so we have to find I don't know how, I also don't know how, but we have to find the balance in a way that we don't overdo it, because which is fine, be the super mom, it's not about that, but also don't normalize the fact that you're in labor and you're going to answer to emails, because then it becomes this complete extreme toxic normalization that, oh, if she answered me while she was in labor, what is your problem that you have to go back home because your kid is sick? And then it just like sets up this completely unrealistic thing.
Weird standard, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like there's such a like a double sword, like a double-edged sword, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have per se the solution, but I think the only solution would be just like be supportive. Okay, if that's your choice, that you're in labor, that's really you because you're just such a work driven, good for you. I mean, awesome. Thank you for showing that standard. But I also have all the right to like close my laptop 2 months before like my due date and never answer you back.
Yeah.
Should be fine too. You
Yeah.
know because otherwise like, I'm sorry, like, I mean, and I know like as a extremely perfectionist people that we are, I think like maybe a few years back we would hear this story and be like, wow, so inspiring, like she has
Yeah.
everything under control,
Mm-hmm.
what am I even complaining about? Like, and this can happen and this will happen because people just don't know better. And then they hear all these stories that are actually kind of, in a way, leveraged against you if you think about it. And you're,
Setting yourself up for kind of, yeah, this unrealistic standards and for failure, because then you cannot live up to this huge
yeah.
answering emails in labor. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to also like in cultural background, you have so much of these toxic things where
Mm.
it's just like you're feeling bad. What these people should feel bad that they are doing this. So like you completely uh how to say, like, put down my struggles just because you have some really unrealistic bar that someone said at some point in their life, and then you have nothing but just to match to it. And that's like horrible. Especially, and it comes back to all the family planning as well, right? Like, um, there are either very extreme bars that are set that also backfiring you as a woman, or there's just nothing. And then you have to navigate this whole environment yourself. Like
Kind
to,
of in the dark, yeah.
yeah, like what should I do? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we need more realistic examples.
Conversations about it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I would have no problem if like that's her choice of answering her phone. I mean, my sister was doing the same, but I know that it was her choice
Mm-hmm.
because she's a person like that. She just likes to be always in contact, in touch with all her endeavors, things like this. I don't know how I will be, but I know that if I choose not to be present, that's good enough too. That's
Yeah.
valid. Love to.
Yeah.
And I want these people to know. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's as I said, you can never predict how it's going to be for you, how this change is going to affect you and how it's going to change your attitude, your desires, your dreams, maybe the ambitions are going to change completely and what mattered before is not going to matter as much or at all anymore. And that's also fine. You cannot it is a change in the brain, it is a biochemical change, it's a change in your lifestyle, and it is so vast, so dramatic that A, again, you cannot predict it, and B, it's okay. Like you cannot grasp onto the old. It's what I told you when you had this mini mental breakdown. Like you cannot grasp to the old version of you because that's it. She's gone. You are going to be a new Asya. I'm a new Xenia. I maybe sometimes miss or grieve the old version of me, but also I don't because she was very different and not I don't necessarily like a lot of aspects of her. She was much more people pleasing. She was much more procrastinating. She was much more I mean, I am still anxious, but anxious about kind of wrong things. And yeah, perfectionist, and this was preventing her from following her passions and ambitions and dreams. And it is a work in progress. I still get all these feelings. It's not like I just magically, a switch was flipped and that's it. I don't think about these things anymore. But I I'm motivated much differently, and I am a different person, and it there is a period of grieving, but also there is beauty in it. It's like you were a caterpillar and you become a butterfly in a sense.
I hope
Of
so.
course, sometimes it feels like you were a butterfly, you were a beautiful butterfly, now you're a caterpillar, and
Now
you're
I'm
just kind of
back
like
to the back.
crawling through life slowly. But no, I think it's the other way around. You are unraveling and kind of opening up in a completely different way, in a beautiful way. So,
Yeah, I really hope so. I mean, my fears about it, and I think
yeah.
like on top of all the other rational, irrational fears of traumas, ecology, environment, world, like all of these things. I think it's very like a selfish point when I was thinking about it, but yeah, I was like so scared, and I'm still there is part of me that is still very scared of like letting go of who I was
Hmm.
before becoming a mom. But I think the other day I was thinking about it a lot, and that's partially because again, you see examples where women were different things and then they became a mom, and the only thing that they are associated is just like, I'm a mom. But
Hmm.
then I was like, I just don't want to be, maybe it sounds really bad, but like just a mom, like I want to stay my own person. And
Hmm.
this is what scares me, that at some point I will just be, even if in that saying of just a mom, there's so much things included, and I understand it, and I get it. But when you see like all these very cool women that they could have been so many things, and then when you ask them like, so tell me about yourself, and the only thing they said like, oh, I'm mom of two.
Hmm.
Okay, it tells me a lot, of course, but what else? What were your hobbies? What were your interests? Like, who are you
Hmm.
before and after being a mom? And this is what scared me the most, like, about actually planning a family.
Hmm.
The fact that is it going to happen to me as well, that I
Hmm.
am just a mom, but I was so much more before that. But I also understand that just a mom embraces, when you open it up, it's a whole world
Yeah.
that I still don't know of. And it's still like a whole world. And nobody really showed me that whole world. So I cannot really have any understanding what is waiting for me.
Hmm.
And that's so important to kind of talk about this. And I love when I talk about it with you, because you are really kind of in a way opening up this braces, what it means to be just a mom. And it's
Hmm.
huge world in it. And I now understand that you are not exchanging your one personality to another, but you're just kind of, smoothly transitioning. And just being just a mom is actually a much bigger
Yeah.
thing rather than I was imagining it to be because I was coming from a very selfish point of view, like my aspirations, my dreams, my
Mhm.
hobbies, my time,
Yeah.
And yeah, I
You
don't know.
know, also in the spirit of like radical honesty and vulnerability, I want to reassure you that I was also like, I always wanted to have kids.
Hmm.
As a child, I was already very confident. I didn't know who I want to be. Like when parents or uncles and aunts ask you who you want to be when you grow up, and you're like, so for me, I didn't really know. I had some answers. There was a period that I wanted to be an archaeologist. I loved Indiana Jones movies. And I was like, yeah, I'm an archaeologist. But I was not entirely confident about any of those answers, but I knew that I wanted to be a mom. And then once I became a mom, I knew that I don't want to be just mom, quote unquote. I realized that I am not going to be fulfilled by only doing motherhood stuff and kind of stay-at-home mom things.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful to have my own self-employment, my business, so that I can combine the two and I can do one and the other kind of at the same time. And maybe, my business is filling the cracks in between the motherhood tasks, and
Yeah, of course.
it is how it's happening now. But it is also fine, and that doesn't mean that I want to ship my kid away and kind of let motherhood and let all my other responsibilities pass me by and just not participate in it at all. I just know that like there is a combination of kind of mom Xenia and uh, yoga teacher, coach,
Yeah.
sportive person Xenia, that like they live together, right?
Yeah.
It's not just one or the other.
Yeah.
And your, I think, passions and ambitions and everything is going to also kind of mold and change shape and adapt to the change that is going to happen in you once you become a mom. And I think it's all going to work out. But let's say one last question, because we talked about that.
Hmm.
You are very multi-passionate, right? You have so many things that you're doing, and we talked about it last time, that you have so much on your plate, you're juggling many roles, and you are, I think, excited and passionate about all of those. And it's now weird to imagine that, some balls will have to drop. Do you feel like, since you are so multi-hyphenate, it is even more pervasive, this messaging that, oh, having children will limit you and will clip your wings and you will not be able to, like, it's even more there present for you? Do you hear it often?
Yeah, so I would say, since we're coming with a very, like honest point of view, I never wanted kids.
Mm,
So crazy. But yeah, I never saw myself as a mom, to be completely honest. Never, never, never. I mean, there was a moment, very brief moment that I could, it's very weird, but I could imagine myself as a single mom.
mm,
Very weird. I don't know why, but I had that
interesting.
point in my life where I was like, you know what? I just want to be a single mom. That would be, like have my stuff and have my baby just for the sake of procreation and passing my genes. And I really had that very weird period, and I think it was during my PhD, by the way, where I could envision myself like having my lab and walking there with my daughter. Like I had that dream. Like I don't know why. Don't ask me.
Interesting.
There's probably multi-layered trauma behind it. I have no clue, but it
I
was.
hope Patrick doesn't take it personally.
I told him, I think we really honestly talk about it because so I never imagined myself being a mom. And for a very long time, I was very, I wouldn't say like super strong, but I was really like inclining to more like the child-free direction, really quite some time. I think, especially during PhD and postdoc and everything. Of course, I met Patrick, and I think that changed a lot because then you realize that you can have a partner that you are willing to take that step. And I think that helps a lot. And I had my own fears. My one of my biggest fears is obviously not to be a good mom. I don't know what it means, but I'm afraid of that.
Mhm.
It's a very weird thing, right? And I don't like kids. I'm really bad with kids. I mean, I'm all the no's.
I don't believe you. I saw you with your niece and nephew. I don't believe you.
Maybe to a certain point. I don't know. Maybe I extremitize it. Maybe it's not really true, but I don't know. I always thought that kids don't like me.
Hmm.
I
I don't
always
believe you.
think I always think my niece and nephew hate me because I'm just like very strict with them, and my sister is very like this hippie mom, and I'm like my, like a post-Soviet mother, and that's what also kind of scared me because I was like, oh my God, will I bring the same traumas to my kid what I had because of this strictness and things like this? But yeah, I mean, I always thought that kids don't like me and I don't like kids. So slowly, when you have a good partner and on a literally on a daily basis, Patrick would tell me, no, you will be a good mom. Don't worry, we will figure it out. If it wasn't for that, I think I would still have the same opinions about being
Hmm.
child-free, to be completely honest, because of all that pressure of in my head of society of how you like being a perfect mother and like all of these things that scares the shit out of me really like and I think just because on a daily basis Patrick could tell me that no, it will be fine, we will figure it out together, you're not alone in that. It was really hard. I remember we got married, and of course you plan your years, what you're planning to do, and we were still in Jena, and there was a moment where we obviously sit down and we had to talk about like future kids and are we planning or not planning all of this. I mean, I felt like this massive pressure because Patrick wants kids like that's like no like comes with the package like he wants to be a father, and I was super scared that I don't know if I will be able to be on the same page with him. And that was also a conversation we had before getting married, and I was very honest that maybe at some point I will change my mind, but I don't think this is the moment yet and I'm not ready for
Hmm.
sure. And I only got ready because I think throughout 3 years I've been hearing it's gonna be okay. It took me a very long time to accept the fact that it's going to be okay. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional, sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so
It's all good.
I don't know why it is like that and where it comes from. And I think it's like the life in general. I think it's like childhood, how you grow up, how you reach to a point, and you want, and even like doing so many things right now, I think partially it's because I want to make sure that I'm fully ready financially, non-financially, household, everything that I can give everything to that kid.
Mhm.
But now, for me, one thing that is, especially talking to you, seeing other people, now I finally realize that being a mom is actually like pro level. It's not
Mhm.
downshifting, it's actually being so much more.
Mhm.
And that I cannot wait to that moment that I've been hearing a lot from people that you will experience the unconditional and true love the moment you have your child. And
Mhm.
I'm so looking forward to that. And again, no pressure. Maybe it will not be in the beautiful movie like moment where you just look at your child and then like there's a sound in the background and like you forget the all the labor pain and all of that. I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on that, but I am really looking forward to it.
Mhm.
I think it took me quite some time to get to this. And this was also because of the examples, because of my partner telling me that
Mhm.
everything is going to be fine, because you just simply don't have people telling you that. And you just have to either create that environment. And this is why I think it's so important to talk about it. Because if there's somebody who listens to us and who thinks, having kids is just a very, very scary thing and they don't know if they can do it. It's just a matter of time. Just don't pressure yourself. Just take that time. And I think you will be ready for it eventually,
Yeah.
if you want to, obviously.
It's just highlighting again, yeah, how much pressure we internalize and then kind of start putting on ourselves, and how much shit we are telling ourselves that we have to do this and that, and we have to do it perfectly and in a particular way, and otherwise it doesn't count. And And I'm glad. Again, our traditional shout out to Patrick.
Do you realize like all our episodes are ending
Yeah,
up like Patrick, good job.
Patrick, good job. Yeah, I'm so
Good
glad
job.
that he was able to like be this rock for you and tell you these things because it's so important that yeah, maybe you don't believe it yourself yet, but with enough repetition from his side, I think eventually you're going to believe him, and eventually also you're going to have proof that he was right all along.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, no, I
It's
have
a
no doubt.
hypothesis.
I
But yeah,
have no doubts.
that's the plan. That's the plan.
Okay, I'm a little bit emotional after all this.
Always like by the end, we just like cannot survive it. It
Yeah.
has to be- No, no. I think it's yeah. I mean, I will really repeat myself, but I think the good partner, the good environment, all these things are very important because you can be also like super, convinced child-free person and no judgment there, completely normal. I mean, I also very long time I thought like having a kid is actually very selfish reason to have a kid. For a very long time I was thinking that actually not having a kid is not being selfish, is being just realistic. So we always had this conversation with my mom where she was like, no, actually living just for yourself for yourself, basically just for your life is basically that's the biggest selfish thing. And I believe that just having a baby for the sake of having baby, that in the future they will give you a glass of water if
Oh
you
yeah.
need it, blah blah blah. That was the biggest selfish understanding for me. But with time, I realized that it can be neither. So you
Hmm.
actually want to have someone, give all your love, give all
Hmm.
everything you have to that someone, and make sure that they are going to be a great person.
Yeah.
And that person is not just coming into the life because they have this higher, definition of life that they have to take care of you. No, but I think it's just natural, and we are biologists, and we
Hmm.
believe in nature was the most clever thing, the way how it designed us. And I think we should not really fully go against it.
Yeah.
If not, totally fine. But I think it's only natural and it only makes sense because that's what we are as species, right? We have to
Hmm.
keep continuing. So,
Yeah, and also it is, I think, from my perspective, it is a really beautiful thing to have a continuation of, like, let's say, me and my husband's love,
yeah.
and see him in our son, and um, it is bittersweet in a way, but it's also like it's really beautiful. So um, I'm looking at it with a lot of happiness and a lot of like, okay, yeah, this was the right decision. So I'm sure that you are going to see also mini Patricks, and you're going to be like,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, of
I tell you,
course.
it's so important to talk to you. It just gives me so much more like peace of mind, happiness. No, it's important. And I think
Yeah,
people really have to, women, you got this. Whoever you are, you got this. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be possible, and everything's gonna be fine. I
yeah.
think that's what you have to just tell them.
I think this series will have to continue, like these conversations will have to continue because
During pregnancy.
yeah, but also like different people talking about their experience of motherhood in academia, because really like this is, again, talking to you again highlighted it for me how much stuff we are like conditioning we're exposed to, and how honesty, this vulnerability, and these conversations are important. So I kind of, yeah, I'm fired up. I want to bring more of this.
Yeah, let's do it. Really, that's so
Yeah.
important. Xenia, whatever you do, it's really helpful. I
Thank
can tell
you.
you, I'm really like an example of how much it helped me also to get my mind around it as a because you were so realistic when we were talking about this whole leaving your old self, becoming a new one. You're realistic, like you didn't sugarcoat. You're like, yeah, it's gonna change. You're not gonna be the same anymore.
Yeah,
But it's not necessarily downgrade. It's actually
it's an evolution.
in a
It's
lot of
yeah,
ways.
yeah.
So it's important to hear because not a lot of people out there telling you this. Because for them, it's just like unconditional. It's gonna be amazing. You're gonna glow. You're gonna
Mhm. Oh
love.
yeah, look at me, I'm glowing.
Yes, you are.
If I'm glowing, that's sweating.
Yes, exactly. From all the
That's
overwhelming
hormonal
things that
sweat.
I do. But
No,
we're
I'm
well,
kidding. No, that there's it's challenging, but like all challenges have something, some silver linings in them and some beauty in them. So it is going to be both. It's going to be really difficult and also really amazing, I think.
yes, looking forward.
Me too. I am looking forward to meeting
Good.
little babies from your side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I think you have your tasks, your job outlined for you.
I go.
Yeah,
I, that,
Patrick.
exactly.
Okay, my dear, thank you so much for being so open, so honest, radically honest with me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that you went with it with me and answered all my intrusive questions.
More than happy. I
I
think
think,
if
yeah.
we will be able to at least help someone or just like give a perspective, I think we already succeeded in so many ways. I really truly believe it
I
just by
think so,
giving
yeah. I
some
think,
thought.
that there is maybe now some resources, but again, looking back at myself, it was so difficult to imagine any other perspective. But no, 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 no kids at all until I'm done. And when is this
When it's done,
done? When is done? Yeah. So it's very helpful to kind of look at this from different angles, different perspectives, hear different stories. So here's to more stories about that. And again, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate you.
we're inviting again.
Yeah.
Was amazing. I
Yeah.
hope it's gonna be more and more episodes already as we talk about it, not only just with me, but with other people,
Yeah.
other examples, and maybe even like different stages of already life. So
Oh yeah, I have something in mind. So hopefully.
I am looking forward.
All right, then let's wrap it up for today. And thank you to our listeners. Don't forget to share it with maybe expectant moms or future moms that you know in academia or otherwise. Maybe it's going to help somebody. Don't forget to like and follow Moms, Maths, and Manuscripts for more coffee fueled. I still have my one last cold sip of coffee for more coffee fueled conversations. And see you next time. Bye.
Bye.